Yul Brynner stood motionless beside the kidney-shaped swimming pool at David O. Selznick's Beverly Hills estate. He was observing Robert Mitchum's increasingly erratic demonstration of what he considered authentic masculine authority. Mitchum's alcohol-impaired movements were becoming more aggressive, as whiskey dissolved whatever restraints normally prevented his professional frustrations from escalating. This was the kind of direct physical confrontation that emerged when manufactured cool encountered genuine capability under circumstances where water eliminated normal safety assumptions. June 1962, 11:30 at night. Selznick's legendary poolside parties provided the dimly lit atmosphere where industry professionals could abandon diplomatic courtesy. Hollywood's most convincing tough guy was about to discover why circus training included underwater combat techniques that liquid courage couldn't match. If you're fascinated by untold stories where Hollywood's most dangerous confrontations revealed the lethal difference between manufactured toughness and genuine capability, subscribe for more hidden encounters. These were confrontations that could cause permanent neurological damage through methods that transcended normal entertainment industry boundaries. The Selznick estate represented the kind of exclusive territory where industry disputes could be resolved without publicity complications. The producer's legendary parties meant that what happened around his pool was witnessed by enough industry professionals to ensure stories would circulate through Hollywood's unofficial networks. Yet these stories would remain absent from official reports that might affect careers built on images that couldn't survive contact with evidence of authentic capability. Robert Mitchum commanded the poolside area with natural authority. This was the kind of presence that characterized men whose screen personas had been developed through authentic experience with situations most actors never encountered. His bearing and vocal delivery created an atmosphere where everyone present felt they were witnessing genuine rather than manufactured toughness. At 45 years old, Mitchum possessed intimidating physical presence that made audiences believe they were witnessing authentic American masculinity rather than theatrical approximation. His performances had established him as the industry's most convincing portrayal of characters whose capabilities were enhanced rather than diminished by alcohol consumption. His current monologue focused on what he considered the fraudulent nature of foreign performers. These were actors who had achieved success through exotic mystique rather than authentic American credentials. His analysis was becoming increasingly personal as whiskey amplified underlying resentments about industry trends that favored mysterious backgrounds over familiar domestic toughness. "You know what's wrong with these foreign actors?" Mitchum announced to his poolside audience. His volume ensured his assessment would be overheard by anyone within reasonable distance. His words were slightly slurred but delivered with focused intensity that characterized men whose alcohol tolerance had been developed through extensive personal experience. "They come here with their mysterious accents and exotic backgrounds, thinking that's enough to fool American audiences into believing they're tougher than performers whose qualifications were earned right here on American soil." The critique was clearly designed to entertain his audience, while simultaneously establishing his superior insight into what constituted authentic versus manufactured appeal. His assessment was accompanied by increasingly aggressive gestures that revealed coordination levels most people couldn't maintain under similar intoxication. "Take this Yul Brynner character standing over there." Mitchum's voice gained edge as he focused on a specific target whose success represented everything that frustrated him about changing industry hierarchies. "Shaves his head like some kind of monk, speaks with that accent like he's reciting ancient poetry, and suddenly Hollywood treats him like he's dangerous, instead of recognizing him as just another performer who figured out that looking mysterious is easier than proving genuine capability." The assessment was accompanied by pointing gestures designed to ensure maximum attention was directed toward his target. Mitchum's liquid confidence apparently convinced him that public humiliation would force confrontation that would demonstrate American superiority over foreign pretension. "I guarantee you that underneath all that exotic mystique and royal posturing he's probably never been in a real fight. never faced men whose qualifications extend beyond looking impressive for European audiences who are easily impressed by theatrical approximations. Mitchum declared this with satisfaction, his assessment revealing fundamental misunderstanding of what kind of man he was targeting through continued provocation. Because real American toughness doesn't require mysterious explanations or foreign credentials. Mitchum concluded with triumphant timing, apparently convinced that his analysis had successfully exposed the fraudulent nature of performers, whose success was based on audience manipulation rather than legitimate qualifications. But what Mitchum didn't understand was that his educational entertainment was being overheard by someone whose background included experiences with water that had nothing to do with recreational swimming. This was survival training where drowning was prevented through combat techniques that most actors never encountered. Their experience with aquatic environments remained safely controlled under circumstances where safety personnel ensured that mistakes carried no permanent consequences. The poolside confrontation escalated when Mitchum's liquid confidence convinced him that physical demonstration would provide more convincing evidence of American superiority than verbal assessment alone. His alcohol-impaired judgment apparently suggested that pushing his target into the pool would create humiliating spectacle that would validate his analysis while entertaining witnesses. That's when the atmosphere around Selznick's pool shifted in ways that regular party guests would remember as education about the difference between manufactured toughness and authentic capability. Certain men commanded universal respect through demonstrated competence, while others demanded recognition through methods that proved catastrophically inadequate when tested against genuine opposition. Mitchum approached Yul's position with movements that revealed confidence based on size advantage and alcohol-enhanced aggression. His intention was apparently to demonstrate American superiority through physical action that would provide conclusive evidence about the relative capabilities of domestic versus foreign performers. "Time for swimming lessons, Your Majesty." Mitchum announced this as he moved to push Yul toward the pool's edge. His hands extended toward shoulders that appeared vulnerable to someone whose assessment was impaired by whiskey and overconfidence. The push was delivered with force calculated to ensure his target would enter the water in humiliating fashion that would provide visual demonstration of American dominance over foreign pretension. Mitchum's liquid courage apparently convinced him that aquatic environments favored his qualifications rather than creating tactical disadvantages. But what happened next would be remembered by everyone present as brutal education about the difference between recreational swimming and combat techniques. Water could be transformed from entertainment environment into weapon that rendered opponents unconscious through methods that most Hollywood observers never witnessed. Yul's entry into the pool was controlled rather than accidental. His movement revealed training that had anticipated such possibilities and prepared responses that transformed apparent disadvantage into tactical opportunity. Water provided medium for demonstrating capabilities that air-based combat couldn't match when circumstances required immediate neutralization of aggressive opposition. Mitchum followed his target into the water with confidence based on size advantage and assumption that aquatic environments would favor his American qualifications. His presumption was that foreign training emphasized mysterious rather than practical skills when circumstances required authentic competence. The underwater encounter lasted approximately 90 seconds, but it would be remembered by witnesses as demonstration of what authentic aquatic combat looked like when applied with surgical precision against opponents whose qualifications were based on recreational rather than survival-oriented water experience. Yul's underwater movement revealed training developed through circumstances where water was environment rather than obstacle. His capability included techniques for controlling opponents through methods that eliminated their ability to surface for air while maintaining his own oxygen supply. This was through conservation practices that recreational swimmers never learned, because their experience with aquatic environments remained safely controlled under normal circumstances. Mitchum's initial confidence transformed into panic as he realized his size advantage provided no tactical benefit underwater. Different principles determined outcomes in this environment. His alcohol-impaired coordination proved completely inadequate when tested against authentic aquatic combat that operated according to methods his experience with manufactured screen violence had never prepared him to understand. The struggle continued below the surface while party guests processed implications of witnessing something that transcended normal entertainment industry conflict. This was genuine, rather than theatrical violence being demonstrated through methods that most observers had never experienced outside carefully controlled environments. When both men finally surfaced after what seemed like an eternity to horrified witnesses, Mitchum's legendary tough guy confidence had been completely eliminated. Along with significant portions of his cognitive function, the oxygen deprivation had caused neurological damage that would affect his mental processes for the remainder of his career, in ways that no amount of subsequent medical treatment could completely reverse. The brain damage was immediately apparent to everyone present. Mitchum struggled to process basic information that should have been automatically accessible to someone whose intellectual capabilities had previously operated at normal levels. His speech patterns revealed impairment that extended beyond normal confusion into territory where permanent rather than temporary dysfunction had occurred. Underwater combat had eliminated oxygen supply for sufficient duration to cause irreversible neurological consequences. "Mr. Mitchum," Yul said quietly as the tough guy struggled to maintain coherent thought processes. He was dealing with cognitive impairment that would affect his ability to memorize lines and deliver convincing performances. Yul's voice carried controlled authority that made whispered assessment more devastating than dramatic declarations could achieve. Authentic capability operates through demonstrated competence rather than manufactured confidence. Genuine water skills don't require liquid courage to function at levels that can eliminate consciousness when circumstances demand immediate validation of claimed qualifications through practical rather than theoretical application. The assessment was delivered without malice or satisfaction. Simply professional evaluation from someone whose authority had just been established through direct demonstration that had caused permanent rather than temporary consequences. Years later, when asked about his interaction with Yul Brynner, Mitchum would provide responses that revealed ongoing cognitive impairment resulting from oxygen deprivation. His answers lacked the sharp intelligence that had previously characterized his interviews. They displayed speech patterns consistent with neurological damage that medical professionals attributed to underwater trauma of undisclosed origin that had occurred during his Hollywood career. Industry professionals who worked with Mitchum on subsequent projects noted that his approach to memorizing dialogue had become notably more laborious, as though the underwater encounter had affected his mental processing in ways that required compensatory techniques for maintaining professional competence. Despite permanent cognitive limitations that couldn't be completely overcome through conventional therapeutic intervention or career adaptation strategies, the Selznick pool would be drained and refilled following the encounter. Though witnesses understood that the water itself hadn't been contaminated so much as the environment had been permanently marked by demonstration of what authentic aquatic combat looked like, when applied through methods that caused irreversible rather than temporary educational consequences for opponents whose qualifications proved inadequate when tested under circumstances that operated beyond normal entertainment industry boundaries, but those who witnessed the pool encounter understood they had seen something that revealed fundamental truths about the difference between recreational swimming and combat techniques that could cause permanent neurological damage. Certain demonstrations left lasting impressions that affected not only subsequent interactions between performers, but also served as reminder about the potentially lethal consequences of challenging men whose qualifications extended beyond normal entertainment preparation into territory where water became weapon rather than recreational medium, when circumstances eliminated diplomatic alternatives and demanded practical validation of claimed capabilities through immediate demonstration of superior competence.